B-Jump Sunset World.
Sushi,
Sumo, Tokushima.
この番組は地域密着型のボランティア活動を徳島で行っている国際ワークキャンプのメンバーがお届けする30分です。
This 30 minutes broadcast is hosted by volunteer members who come from abroad to help the community of Tokushima. Hello and good evening, Tokushima. We are your hosts for this evening. I'm Mitchell from Brisbane, Australia.
I'm Dave from Perth, Australia.
Awesome. This radio program, Sushi, Sumo, Tokushima, is live on FM Bizan. This 30-minute broadcast is hosted by volunteer members who come from abroad to help the community of Tokushima. Popular images of Japan, sushi and sumo, yes. But we would also like people around the world to know not only these images, but more things about Japan. They share the news from Japan and information about Tokushima, a place that welcomes foreigners from all over the world. No one knows what language will be spoken or what kind of topics they'll bring up. Don't miss it.
Sushi,
Sumo, Tokushima. All right, fantastic. So I just want to start by saying to Dave, thanks for coming on the show today.
No worries. Thanks for having me.
It's great to be here. For all your information out there for everybody, we're both from Australia, but we're from the opposite sides of Australia. And actually, we didn't meet in Australia. We met in Japan about 3 weeks ago, maybe, in Tokushima.
Yeah, that's
3 weeks ago. And so Dave has been in Japan for a little while, and he's had some experience in radio. So we're just going to have a bit of a chat about these things today. But first, can you tell me about yourself, like how long you've been in Japan, why you came to Japan, all those kinds of things, yeah?
Well, I think I've been in Japan now for a little over 3 months.
3 months, yeah, okay. Yeah, it's gone quick, has it?
Yeah, it sure has, yeah.
Pretty busy,
okay. Yeah, it felt like yesterday that I moved over here. I've just always really wanted to live and work in Japan.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, ever since I was a little kid.
Wow.
I studied Japanese from about grade 2, I think.
Wow, that's pretty young.
Yeah, grade 2 till 11. It was pretty popular, I think, back in the 90s and early 2000s. All school students were given the opportunity to study Japanese, and I just continued on doing it from primary school to high school, and unfortunately, I missed out on our exchange.
Oh, no.
Yeah. And so I was kicking myself. So I knew that I always had Japan to visit, kind of on a bit of a pedestal, to eventually come over and not just visit the place, but have the full like immersive experience. Yeah,
jump
immersive
in the
experience.
Deep end. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So before this time, you never came to Japan, is that correct? You never had a chance to come here.
I was kind of holding out for holding Japan in quite high regard, really. I'd traveled a lot around the world. I've been to the States and Europe, and each time I went traveling, I traveled for longer and longer, and once I reached my sort of 3-month travel visa limit,
time's up. You've got to leave.
I decided that the next challenge would be to actually live overseas somewhere, and I'd always had Japan in that place in my mind to do that.
Okay, fantastic. And so, how about before you came to Japan? Did you have any experience with Japanese people, like in Perth, like meeting people, your family having associations with Japanese?
Yeah, we did. Our family's always been pretty open to hosting foreigners in our house if somebody needs a bed, or even if they just want to live and see what it's like to live with an Australian family. Okay. We've always had people in. So my sister, she studied Japanese as well.
Oh, cool.
In high school, and we had an exchange student come and stay with us through her school, and my father as well picked up some random Japanese travellers in his travels.
I guess a small city. Yeah.
And so they came and lived with us, and so that was the only real experience I'd had was seeing Australia from their perspective.
Oh, I see. Yeah, okay.
And I suppose I'm probably in a very similar boat to them now, being in Japan.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah,
being completely, you know,
trying to learn
out
to
of my
swim,
comfort zone.
Like,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, right. Okay. And so could you maybe just tell us a bit about your first experience coming to Japan? When you first arrived here 3 months ago, how was the shock for you? How was the experience? Like coming to Tokyo, I imagine, landing in Tokyo.
Yeah.
How was it coming from?
It was really, really intense.
Intense, yeah.
I mean, look, the time difference between Perth and Tokyo is actually only 1 hour.
It's still only 1 hour?
It's only an hour.
Brisbane as well, it's only an hour.
Yeah, right. So it's not like I was jet lagged or anything, but I got off the plane and I was so exhausted.
Right.
I think it was more the mental and emotional exhaustion of knowing that I had left, my home country behind.
And you're moving, like you came here to move, right?
Exactly,
you moved to Japan, not just traveling, like, I'm going to go home in, 2.5 months or something. You came here with like your bags packed.
Yeah, that's it.
Several suitcases or something,
Yeah, and so I suppose I didn't get to come over with that sort of the carefree attitude of a traveller. I knew that I had all of my all of my belongings in my life that I would need to be able to pick up and move over here with me, like on my person, it's five massive bags, struggling them by myself through the airport. And when I landed and started trying to navigate through not only a foreign place, a foreign airport, but a foreign language.
Yeah. Could you read much of that? Like having learned Japanese, could you recall reading? Oh, that's the entrance, that's the exit. Or is it would it left your mind?
It's it was probably about 15 years ago. That I was studying Japanese, and of course, not using a language means that
you lose it. Yeah,
unfortunately, it does. Yeah, you just lose it, but. I've now a lot's come back to me actually in 3 months.
Wow, awesome.
Things are slowly starting to return.
It takes time.
Or I'm learning things quite easily for the first time. But when I first arrived, I started seeing a little bit of katakana and being able to be like, that's right. Slowly being able to make sense of things, but look, I mean. Tokyo is probably the easiest place in Japan to land because there's English everywhere. That was a bit of a comfort.
Though. Definitely confusing. I've heard Japanese admitting that Tokyo is pretty confusing. So coming there and jumping in the deep end. So okay, and then how did you go adjusting to for an example, we all love Japanese food. Like in Australia, we love sushi. But how did you go with that? Like, how did you get used to Japanese food? And
I didn't really like Japanese food in Australia.
Oh, really?
I don't know if it's maybe Perth doesn't do it well, or I'd never had the kind of authentic traditional experience. Gone to an authentic enough restaurant. Maybe I've just been buying too many 6-packs from Coles or Woolies or something. Our supermarkets in Australia. I didn't really get what the fuss was about. So that's actually one of my greatest concerns about moving over here. I'm used to a diet of cooked red meat.
And
potato. Pasta, potato, that sort of, and bread. Oh man, bread. Just bread. I've been. Oh man, I miss my bread. But I've come round when I first moved here. Raw eggs and raw fish and that sort of thing. It messes with your system,
I'm not used to it.
It's this we've talked about it before. It's this idea of a culture shock, and not just the culture that you can see around you, but the kind of internal kind of culture, I guess. It sort of affects you from the inside out, and food, of course, is a great example of that. Raw fish and that sort of thing. I really wasn't into it, and it got me. It sort of exhausted me, fatigued me as well. man, have I grown to love it.
Oh, really?
Like,
It's great.
really...
That's fantastic. You've adapted. Well,
yeah.
I guess it's still in the process, but...
Yeah. But it's just, I realize, like, it's just so fresh. It's so fresh.
That's the emphasis,
all fresh
I guess,
ingredients.
You know, like, some people say, it's lacking flavour, there's no spices, there's, like, bland, but the emphasis is on the freshness. You know, if it's really fresh, you can taste the juiciness of the, like, salmon or tuna or something, if you have raw fish, you know.
But, you know, it's like the philosophy in Italy as well. It's like the less ingredients, the more the more your brain can actually concentrate on each individual one.
That's true, yeah.
So, you know, when it's just something like rice and salmon, then you only have to, you know, split your brain at 50-50.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Whereas, you know, if we're used to McDonald's or whatever, something like that, it's just a flavour overload. You can't actually process what's going on.
Much for yeah, for sure. Yeah, okay, all right. And how about any other difficulties in Japan? Like, with the culture, like, things like that? Like, any other, like, things you didn't expect that have...
Well, not being able to speak the language is definitely a massive difficulty.
And I guess, working, like, full-time, you know, not even much time to even practice Japanese, learn Japanese, those kinds of things.
Yeah, that's true, actually. I think maybe my time management has been completely deconstructed since I've been here. As you know, in Australia, you know, we got plenty of time on the clock.
Time is like, it's never an issue, you know? Don't worry about it.
Yeah, that's it. But here, everything, you know, if you're 10 minutes early, you're already 5 minutes late. That whole thing,
the punctuality. Yeah, it is really good because you know that you can rely on people to be on time. That, you know, if something happens, you know, you've always got to blame yourself. It's like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm late, you know.
Yeah.
Say 6 o'clock, you've got to be there before 6.
Stuff like that. I quite like that,
Yeah. So it's good to organise things and whatnot. So, yeah, fantastic. So speaking of time, we've got a great Australian song coming up that was choice by Dave. So we're going to play that and we'll continue talking after the break.
Sushi,
Sumo, Tokushima! All right, welcome back. Hope you all enjoyed that song. That was Tash Sultana with Jungle. Amazing song. She's from Melbourne, actually. So, so could you tell me a little about yourself? Like, what was your life before you hit the ground running in Japan? What were you doing in Perth before you came to Japan?
I was working for a theatre company. Specializing. We were so rubbish. No, it was awesome. It's a really good. Company. Constable Care. You guys don't have it over East.
Okay.
But it's a massive. It's like it's a huge like nostalgic childhood institution in Western Australia.
Okay.
Yeah, Constable Care is a police officer, a constable.
Oh, constable. Yeah.
And we travelled around to primary schools all over Western Australia.
Like no limits.
No,
all over the state.
Top to bottom.
Wow.
Like Kununurra.
It's the largest state in Australia.
Yeah. It was huge. Yeah, we really covered some ground. And we would do puppet shows for primary school kids, teaching them about their own, you know, health and safety and, you know, squeezing in the law and being a good, you know, person in life. That sort of thing, we tackled some pretty, you know, hard-hitting issues as well, you know, things that we decided were particularly important to try and, you know, instill in young minds very early. You know, like things like racism or bullying or... you know, anxiety and that sort of thing.
Maybe depression and stuff like that as well, maybe?
Yeah, absolutely, so it was a really good job, and I tell you what, I couldn't complain. It allowed me to travel and my favourite thing is travelling, of course.
So, sounds like it,
yeah, and I got to travel all over Western Australia.
And being paid for it. Excellent. Like, I've never been to Western Australia. Like, I'm from Brisbane. I've met a lot of people from Perth, like yourself. And I would imagine a lot of those communities be, like, Indigenous communities? Like, going to those places?
Yeah. So, again, lucky enough to go out and visit some of these remote communities, as you say, and meet the people out there. And there is. There's a lot of like Aboriginal communities and other like remote communities that, you know, are barely even on the map, you know.
Yeah, right.
Like if you
such small towns.
Yeah, if you miss the only turn on the on the straight road, then you know you miss the school.
200 kilometers till the next one, you know.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Right, okay.
Yeah. And it's fascinating lifestyle out there as well, because contrary to life here in Japan, it's just so vast, you know, out in the Pilbara or the wheat belt in Western Australia, you know, or the Kimberley. It's just there's just nothing. It's just
flat.
It's just road. Yeah, it's just flat. It's not built up whatsoever. There's barely more than like three colours to the palette, you know.
That's true, yeah.
To the
red
palette out there.
Yeah, there's sky.
There's red, blue, and well, if you're lucky, there might be some green, but there's
green is very
mainly
rare.
yellow, I think.
Yellow,
red, and blue.
Yeah, definitely hot and dry. So, like, with those places that you've been to, like, would you say there's a particular area which would be your favourite? Like, or is it, there's just so many places, you know what I mean? Like,
it's so hard to pick because each place comes with its own flavour, and its own people.
Okay.
dying to show somebody around. You know, somebody wants to come to Perth and road trip with me up and down the coast. Like, we can go to some amazing places. You know, let's see, Kununurra. Right up the top.
Okay, it's near the Kimberleys or not that far? Or?
Yeah. I think it's like the north end of the Kimberleys.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's the places closest to the West Australian border that I visited.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Okay,
Before it turns into what is it? Northern Territory.
Yeah, Northern Territory. Yeah.
So Kununurra, that's just beautiful. Like, you got to, you know, it's an adventure itself, just talking to the locals and finding out which water holes you can swim in.
Yeah, because there's water. Yeah, crocodiles.
Crocodiles, and that's like the big tourist.
That's salt water. Fresh water.
I think they're fresh water.
Fresh water.
Yeah. But that's like a literal tourist trap for a lot of people visiting the place, you know, because you got to know where to swim. Some places are totally fine, and you'd miss them if you were too scared to just ask the locals, you know, where you can swim. And the place was just so green. It's I remember swimming at this one water hole, and there was a waterfall, and we saw like just a smorgasbord of all Australian wildlife and flowers and everything. You know, we got a really good time of year to go up there. I can't remember what time of year it was now. It was right before rainy season anyway, so we were lucky that, you know, these places didn't get
washed out.
Washed out, exactly. If we head south of my hometown, Perth, and we go down the southwest kind of corner, that's, I mean, I can't say it's my favourite place, but it's definitely the place I've visited the most, and for good reason as well. It's beautiful surf, beautiful beaches.
Right, okay. And it's just like nothing, like it's almost like untouched, do you know what I mean? Like developments, you've got a few houses here and there, but it's just like nature, and that's, I guess, the magic of those areas, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
It's just stayed the same probably for thousands of years, you know. Not much has changed, you know.
Yeah. And the fact that you can be like one of a very... short, like a small number of people on the beach, and it's just being so picturesque, you know, or the only one out surfing or whatever. Like, it's just great because I guess you know, we haven't had this kind of like flood of tourism here. That's, you know, some other kind of more built up cities on the East
Gold
Coast.
Is known for that. Yeah. Okay, righto. Okay, and so areas like Margaret River I know of. Like, Margaret River is really famous for wines, the vineyards.
Yeah, so the wine region around the Margaret River area is probably... No, I'll say it. I'll commit to it. I think it's the best wine I've had. Yeah,
both red and white, like just amazing.
Oh yeah.
Wow. Okay. All right.
You do the white in the summer. You do the red in the
winter. Of course. Yeah.
And man, they've just road tripping alone, like just driving through that area itself is enough. You know.
Right. You need a car though, don't you? You need definitely have a car.
I'd say so. Yeah.
Like anywhere in Australia, really.
they've got really good wine tours where they have shuttle buses. Yeah, shuttle buses taking you around.
Well, so.
Absolutely, yeah. But this is the danger, and I know it sounds a bit cliche, but you really do have to watch out for roos down there.
Yeah,
there are. Right. I think they're greys, the grey kangaroos, just swarming the place, just all over the place. And I think don't quote me on this, but they're one of the, number one killers down there. Sweet and lovable accidents. Kangaroos, because they create so many driving accidents and that sort of thing at dusk. When it's a little bit too difficult to see.
They run across the road and I know in some places, I think it's maybe South Australia, they're considered a pest.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and so they would just cull them just because of the reason there's just too many, like those kinds of things. And even in Brisbane, like when I drive from Brisbane to Cairns, the amount of kangaroos, on the road, it's pretty crazy.
Yeah,
but so Perth sounds amazing though. Yeah.
It is.
I'd definitely like to go there. Yeah, it's so different to Japan.
Absolutely.
Complete opposite, the vastness. So, yeah. Fantastic. Yeah, so, all right, it seems we've almost reached the end of the program. We are waiting for messages from you with feedback or requests.
Sushi,
Sumo, Tokushima! So this radio program, Sushi, Sumo, Tokushima, is being recorded live here on B-FM in Tokushima. So how did you feel today, Dave? How was your experience?
Oh yeah, it was great coming in and doing something that I really enjoy doing.
Fantastic!
I love doing the voiceover. In fact, I'm going to take a bit of a look around and see what else I can kind of rustle up in this area.
Fantastic!
Yeah.
All right, awesome. Well, thanks for coming to the show. Thanks for spending the time in your busy schedule to come. Awesome. So this program is hosted by volunteer members working with non-profit organisation Bizan Daigaku. We are open to and accepting any forms of support or contributions you have to offer within the local community of Tokushima. Please do not hesitate to contact us if you wish to get involved by emailing radio@bizandaigaku.net. We are accepting requests and messages via email. Please send emails to request@bfm.jp, request@bfm.jp, including the title of the show, Sushi, Sumo, Tokushima, in your messages. You can listen to this channel, FM Bizan, on the internet with your PC and smartphones. If you're accessing with your PC, go to the website www.bfm.jp and you will find a pink banner written Sumo Radio on the left side of the page. If you're accessing with your smartphones or tablet, download the application, listen radio, then select BFM 791 FM Bizan with the area Chugoku, Shigoku. If you're listening to this radio station in the area that has a weak radio wave, don't worry. You can listen to programs with clear sound through this internet radio system. No one knows what language will be spoken or what kind of topics they'll bring up next Thursday. Don't miss it. See you next Thursday at 6:30. Bye-bye. See ya.
Bye.